If you like this video, why not subscribe? Hey everybody, welcome back to the Frugal Filmmaker Q&A. That's the show where you send me your questions and I try to answer them with my vast knowledge. If you'd like to have your question read on the show, please send it to the frugalfilmmaker@gmail.com. That's your best chance you have of getting your question read on the show. I'll try to answer you here and in email. You can also leave a comment in the comment section below, or you can also message me on Twitter @frugalfilmmaker. If you didn't get a chance to check out my last video this past Thursday, it was a fake TV simulator, which is a little box that generates kind of a random light pattern meant to throw on your window so people will think you're home watching TV when you're actually not. It's kind of a security device. And I kind of use it to shine on your face or an actor's face. It's my face in the video to kind of simulate a TV set. So that was the last video that was posted last Thursday. Check that out if that interests you. Our first question today comes from an email. It's Tyler Van Allen who asks, I'm about to start shooting my first musical documentary as we travel for our European tour of Spain. As a writer, producer, director, are there any legal documents I need to have participants sign with respect to their rights or anything of the sorts as to how their likeness is portrayed or used? I think this is a good idea to always have a talent release with you, some kind of a release form. So if you do get anybody on camera that may end up in your video that may or may not want their image on video, I definitely approach them with a talent release. Just have a bunch ready with you. I'm actually going to leave an example of a talent release in the description below, a link to a PDF file that you can print out. I just recommend you have a bunch of these with you because then you can just hand them to the person and say, I think I got you on camera, do you mind signing this release form? Kind of tell them about your project. That might get them excited. Of course, they might also say no. So if you really need to secure them for legal reasons, like you're going to be making a lot of money on your video, or you're going to distribute it or whatever, there's a chance someone might contest their image being used. Maybe they didn't know when you were shooting. Definitely consult a lawyer, which I realize is expensive. Otherwise, just cover your bases by having them sign this form. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Daniel Rinke says, this spring I'm going to be starting my first real YouTube channel making 3 to 5 minute nature documentaries. Do you have any tips for filming small and fast animals like frogs, etc., especially on rainy nights? This is a really interesting question. He's got several requirements, what Daniel is going to be doing. And it sounds like he's going to be shooting in wet weather, so it's always a good idea to waterproof your camera with a plastic bag is the easiest way to do it. You can actually buy rain covers for your equipment, but you can also just make them out of clear plastic bags. You just cut a hole in one end so it fits over your lens, then you cover your camera with a clear plastic bag so you can see the monitor or your eyepiece or whatever. If you're using like an EVF, electronic viewfinder, so you can see through the bag and look through the finder to see your image, make sure you're framing everything correctly, and then you can put a cup on the end of the lens, like a hood, to shield the rain from actually getting into your lens. But you're going to be out there for a long time. You're worried about condensation building up inside the bag. If there's no vent or not a big enough vent, you can always put one of those little like silica gel packets you find in over-the-counter medication that just keep moisture out of enclosed areas. You can put one of those in there. That should also help. You're shooting at night, so you're going to have some kind of lighting, I'm assuming. You can also waterproof your lights in the same way. Just cover them with a clear plastic bag. If you're using LED lights, for example, those are really good because they don't generate much heat. You can cover them with a bag. The bag won't burn up. Also diffuses the light a little bit. So that's not a bad deal. Now, if you are trying to record sound, you want to waterproof a shotgun microphone. I'm just going to say it. You use non-lubricated condoms. Cover the shotgun mic completely. The sound goes right through the condom. It doesn't affect the sound at all, but it keeps your microphone dry. Especially if it's under some kind of a baffle like a Zeppelin or a dead cat windscreen, whatever, that'll work. But that'll help keep your microphone from getting destroyed by moisture, which is what will happen. So good luck with those nature videos. Now this one comes from Cliff Clark, who says, I hear people talking about B-roll. What is that? Now B-roll is actually a TV term. You really don't hear it that much in the film world, but it's a real common term to hear in television news production, or video production. I worked in news production for a long time. Essentially, it's cutaways of things that you're talking about on the voiceover. So like on the TV news, if you hear somebody being interviewed about a crime scene or whatever, they're talking about the snow landed on our house here, and there'll be a shot of the house covered in snow. There'll be people digging snow. There'll be snowflakes hitting the ground, all that kind of stuff. Those cutaway shots of what the person is talking about is called B-roll. If you're going to talk about an equivalent in the film world, it's usually a cutaway. Like you need to get a cutaway of something, the table or whatever, cut away from, you need to bridge 2 shots. You're going to have a cutaway of something that can let you cut to the cutaway and then go to the other shot. I often say B-roll, even though it's not really film accurate. Again, it's television news production, video production, not really film. Jay Miller, also known as Miley on Disney on YouTube, he's made a lot of comments on my recent videos, asks, is there a good source for affordable sound effects in music? This is a question that kind of comes up over and over again. And I don't really have a lot of outlets for music as far as free music on the internet. Sometimes I use Kevin MacLeod's Incompetech, which is what a lot of people use. And they have some pretty good stuff. I've used his stuff in several of my videos, but I try to use original music when I can. Freesound.org is a great resource for free sound effects. In fact, people will upload their sound effects, and you can too, to this resource, and then you can download them, and there's this kind of a licensing thing you have to do where you give credit to certain sound effects if you're going to use them. They're not always professionally recorded, but there should be something for you to work with. Unless you want to spend a lot of money on a sound effects package, which I know most of us don't. Or you can just go out and record your own sounds. Okay, we got a comment from my last video, Fake TV Simulator. This is from Samaran Banerjee. I'm sorry if I butchered your name there. And they say, please consider to tell whether a traditional camcorder or a DSLR is good for professional looking videos. This is a question that's been asked a lot in the past. Maybe not so much recently, because I know the DSLR world has kind of taken over the camcorder world quite a bit. It seems like more people are interested in DSLR videography than camcorder videography. Even though camcorders haven't gone completely away, I think they've definitely been replaced quite a bit. So really the question you have to ask yourself is, what kind of look are you going for? Do you want something that's more electronic and newsy looking, or do you want something that's more cinematic and more filmish, looks more like a movie? And on one hand, you've got a camcorder. It has deep focus. Almost everything is in focus with a camcorder, it seems like most of the time, due to the small sensor. Or on the other hand, you have digital SLR cameras, interchangeable lens cameras that look more cinematic. The image tends to be warmer. It looks more like a movie. You have 24 frames per second, which makes it look more like a movie, shallow depth of field. You'll probably spend more money if you're going to go the cinematic route, because you're going to be buying multiple lenses, where you have a built-in lens on the camcorder side, and that's the only thing you ever use. Just all depends on what you want. All right, finally we have a question from Twitter from Tony Jeffries, who says, can you give me some basics on green screen filming, please? Some basic tips on pulling a good key, which just means when you get into post and you want to be able to pull that background, remove that background, green background, and replace it with something, and you have somebody in front of it most likely. So the first thing you want to do is you want to move your talent as far away from the chroma key as possible, so that you're not getting a lot of spill, a lot of green spill, because when you light the key, you don't want a lot of that reflection of green falling onto their shoulders or their head, because their hair or their shoulders will look green. You can remove some of that in post depending on your software, but it's always a good idea to keep your talent as far away from the chroma key as possible. Another thing you want to do is light the key evenly, meaning you don't want a lot of hot spots on your chroma key. You want even light. You want everything to be lit the same, so that when you get into post and pull out that key or remove that green, it's going to be a lot easier if everything is kind of the same luminance, same intensity. I've done that in the past with fluorescent tube lighting. Just have a large soft light, throw it, spill it all over the key, but it's diffuse and it's all over the place wide. It's not focused, it's flooded. Those two things will help you in the production of your chroma key stuff. And the other thing is, of course, is that when you get into post, if you have some superior chroma key software, you'll be able to fix a lot of problems or issues you might have, such as the spill suppression, and that kind of a thing, which I'm not really going to go into that. But I just use my basic software in Sony Vegas Pro, and it does okay. But if you go into After Effects, or you have specialized plugins or whatever special effects software you use, if you go that route, the more specialized you get with the software, the more control you're going to have over your green screen in post. So that's something to invest in, definitely, I think, or look into if you're going to do a lot of green screen stuff, because me personally, I hate green screen stuff because it always tends to look cheesy and fake. But it can look better if you use various techniques to help it improve, such as the lighting I talked about, as well as the software. So that's it for this week. If you'd like your question read on the show, remember to send it to me at thefrugalfilmmaker@gmail.com. You can also leave a comment in the description below, or in the comment section below, excuse me, and I'll try and pull it from there. Or on Twitter, @FrugalFilmmaker is another place you can ask a question. Remember, I've got a new video coming this week, Thursday, and there'll be a Q&A again on Monday. So we'll see you then.